Jace Tunnell here. Today I'm excited because I'm down in Boca Chica. Yep, I'm about a mile from Mexico. So I'm on the beach down here and I haven't been down here before. And it looks like I might be the only one down here too. But if you look, except for all the blue land crabs, I don't know if you can see these, but blue land crabs, there must be 30 of them just like right here. We had like really heavy rain, so I guess they're coming out to enjoy the beach. Now, Boca Chica means small mouth. Where do you think that means from? Well, the Rio Grande is to our south, about a mile. And so that means the small river mouth that comes out. Sometimes it doesn't even flow, depends on the year if there's a drought or not. To the north of where we're at on Boca Chica Beach is the Brownsville Ship Channel. So that's what kind of distinguishes this. It's part of a national wildlife refuge. Now, there's actually a lot of history here with this piece of property. Boca Chica Village used to be here, which is now part of SpaceX, where they shoot rockets out. It's also back in the 1920s, they tried to have like a resort out here, which, as you can imagine, got washed away. But the real reason I'm down here, not only to beachcomb, check stuff out, but the Hart Research Institute actually has a project out in the tidal flats. So I can walk literally 100 feet, 200 feet in, and right behind the dunes there's all these tidal flats. So mud flats, wind flats, cyanobacteria flats. You've probably heard all those names. There are no trees. Every once in a while you'll see like a little plant or something like that. But actually, it doesn't look like there's a lot of living stuff out there, but there is. So let's go talk to the experts. I'm gonna walk over here, I'll introduce you, and they can tell you about their project they have going on. But before we leave, let me see if we can get a close-up here to these blue land crabs. Blue land crab buddies. Blue land crabs. Okay, that goes on and on, but let's go and check out the tidal flats.
We're here today in the middle of a wind tidal flat. As you can see, these areas often are mistaken by folks as being sort of barren coastal environments. They're really flat. They can be kind of featureless. You can see there's little bits of plants here and there. But other than that, it really just looks like a landscape that's dominated by sand and mud. But what we know about these habitats is that they are critically important. The difference between this special kind of tidal flat, wind tidal flat, and the flats that people are used to fishing on is that these are only inundated or submerged with water very infrequently and due to the wind tides, wind-driven tides. So that's why we call them wind tidal flats. So when we have winds that push the water into the bays, they flood these areas and everything gets rehydrated and new nutrients are delivered. And then you have really extended periods of time like today, like in the middle of the summer and into the early fall, where you really don't get any water into these areas at all, making them a really unique area for things to survive, and many things, as we'll talk about, also thrive in this area. One of the most important features on wind tidal flats is cyanobacterial mat. And it's a big word, but cyanobacteria, another word that people call it, is blue-green algae. This is a community of organisms that live on top of the sediments in wind tidal flats and hold them together. So if you look towards the ground right now, this is a really beautiful example of how that cyanobacterial mat changes from periods of the year or areas where it's very wet, and you can see it's very green and lots of healthy growth is happening, lots of air bubbles being produced as they're using photosynthesis to produce oxygen. And then as you move into sort of this more gray drying out portion of the mat, and then this white portion of the mat over here. All of this mat is living, and as soon as it gets rehydrated again, will become reanimated and look like this green. It goes through these seasonal changes where it's wet and active, and then where it dries out and is holding the sediment together in more of a dry form.
So today we're at a wind tidal flat in Boca Chica, but we also do the same sampling methods at a wind tidal flat on the Padre Island National Seashore, so we can understand if the cyanobacteria mat is different between these different locations. Yeah, so for this project, we're really aiming to understand what a wind tidal flat community of cyanobacteria really looks like, and how that may change between damaged areas, undamaged areas, and just across the mat as a whole. And then with that, we're also looking at how damaged are these mats, and using drone data, we can kind of determine if these are really deep damages, if they're less deep, and then how that might be impacting the cyanobacteria as well.
So my part of the project is looking at the damages onto wind tidal flats, and we're doing this by flying UAS or drones within the area and creating a digital surface model of the wind tidal flat. And this is to try to extract or understand how much damage is within the wind tidal flat area. And then another piece of this is to figure out how to restore these damages and then how long they persist within the area.
These wind tidal flat areas are really critically important, ecologically important areas along the coast for things like wading bird feeding. These cyanobacteria mats that you can see that coat the sediments here, this is just an example of a very dried up in summer cyanobacterial mat. These hold moisture underneath them, which allows for little tiny worms and clams and crustaceans to continue to live here in this hot time of year, and allows the birds to come in and feed on them. The challenge in working in these areas, as you can see, the sediments are really loose here and get really dry, and because they're really between the area of open water and the area of land, people tend to drive their vehicles across them to access them for fishing, for putting their boats in the water, and those damages can persist for decades. These are incredibly sensitive habitats, and so our project now is looking at characterizing those damages across the Texas coast, and more importantly, coming up with approaches for restoring what has been damaged.
It'll be vials 10 through 12. Yeah. So essentially what I'm doing right now is taking samples of cyanobacteria mat for high performance liquid chromatography analysis, which is also HPLC for short. And so what that data gives us is a pigment profile of the different chlorophyll accessory pigments that are present in the mat. And using that information, we can identify different types of cyanobacteria and microbial groups and kind of characterize who the main players are in the mat at this study area.
These cyanobacterial mats on wind tidal flats are super important for some of the same reasons that we value seagrass beds and coastal marshes. One of those is that they produce a lot of oxygen. So you've probably heard that every other breath that you take was produced by the ocean. If you look across this wind tidal flat where all this green cyanobacterial mat is, you can see that kind of gray color everywhere. That gray color is millions and trillions of oxygen bubbles that have been produced from this cyanobacteria that are going back into the environment for us to breathe. So one of the really interesting things that we're doing in our wind tidal flat study is we are developing methods to culture that really critical, important cyanobacterial mat that we find out in these environments. And so to do that, what we have right here this is one Tupperware experimental chamber where we've taken sediment from out in the field and some of the cyanobacterial mat samples, and we are learning to grow them in the lab. And the idea behind this is that if you have an area of wind tidal flat that's damaged, the most critical part to restore is that cyanobacterial mat that holds all those sediments in place. So if we can come up with a way to grow that mat in the lab, we can take it back out into the field and jumpstart recovery at those damaged locations.
The cyanobacteria culturing experiment that we're working on is funded by the National Park Service and Padre Island National Seashore.
I think one of the biggest takeaways that I'd like for people to learn about wind tidal flats is that this is an important coastal habitat. Just like we value marshes, just like we value mangroves, this is critical habitat for wading birds, for coastal protection, and they need to be conserved and protected just as much as all of the other coastal habitats that are a little bit more visible.
Okay, well, that was pretty amazing. I'm glad that the folks here at the Heart Research Institute let me come out and join them down here in Boca Chica. They got some pretty cool work. Not only the one here that they've got in Boca Chica, but they're doing the exact same thing up on the Padre Island National Seashore. So I'm getting on the list to be able to go with them on that trip. So no matter how much I like tidal flats, I got to get back on the beach and do some more beachcombing. So I guess that's it for this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.